Sounds good.
Hello there, welcome to another episode of Inside Out Alignment, your platform for self-discovery and creativity. Your host, Mary Tapper. Another new day with another wonderful guest, and today we are blessed to have Rachel Miller with us, who is the founder and brand specialist at Co-Branding. Thank you so much, Rachel, for accepting this invitation. We are honored to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So I want us to start by, I know you are the founder of brand, you're the founder and brand specialist at Co-Branding. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with mostly health and wellness professionals, sometimes just small business owners of, all types. And we have kind of a unique take on branding as, kind of a whole. Whereas a lot of the time with brand, you think like just logo or just, aesthetic. We look at things a little more holistically, and our whole goal is to be, a one-stop shop and make sure that our process empowers our clients to really just go out there and do what they love and, be set up for success.
Okay, when you say like that holistic and providing all those services, can you tell us some of the services? I know it's not just logos. What are other things do you, put ahead for that?
Absolutely. So the way we look at a brand is we kind of deem these like 4 pillars. So that way we have different categories to look at to really do a thorough audit and understanding. So we look at clarity, which is like understanding the target market, making sure the messaging is really strong, making sure that we really understand the client and their clients, and that what we're doing, the work we're doing together, is based off of a human connection instead of just like a generic, here's your logo, goodbye. Because it really is all about humanity and communicating and bringing people closer together. And then we also, during that clarity time, look at services they offer, if we can help them get more clear on their future goals for the business. And then with that information, we go into brand foundations. And that's where like the typical brand stuff happens. So logo, brand style guide, business cards, email signature, really whatever they need to position themselves, in a way that they feel really empowered and like they have all the tools that they need, they can request. And we provide all of those designs, and we continue revising until they're, really happy with what they have. And then we move on to operations. So for us, brand isn't just about the way your business looks, it's about the way your business functions for your clients and also for you, right? Brand is like everything that makes you unique and makes you what you are. And a lot of the time you see, like, especially in the health and wellness world and with like entrepreneurs of a really small business, there's this kind of pressure to put yourself last and completely throw yourself into what you're doing to like an unhealthy point. And there's a lot of like what we're supposed to do going on culturally, right? There's a lot of like, you hit a certain point with your business and you have to scale. You hit a certain point in your business and you have to make more money. It's always what's next, what's next, what's next. You have to, check your email 500 times a day. Like there's all this pressure on what we're expected to do. And what we do in that part of the process is break it down into what actually serves you and what actually feels good. And how can we set up systems to work with the way that your brain works and the way that your business functions, and set up either automations or coded spreadsheets or website integrations or whatever it may be that allows you as a person who's wearing like 10,000 hats doing all the things to be able to also be a person and have a little more time and space for that. So there's a lot of strategy that goes on there, and then we implement anything that we come up with. And then finally, we move into brand presence, which is your website, your social media accounts, your email marketing, anything online where people can find you and interact with you. So we redo websites, we do SEO, we do copywriting, we do social media marketing plans, templates, email marketing templates, like the whole deal. So basically by the end of the process, the goal is that, at the beginning, the audit that we did utilizing those pillars and the goals that we were able to come up with together have all been accomplished, and they can go out there and really be in a position to do what they love in an empowered way that isn't bogged down by everything else, and feel really good about it, and be positioned to succeed.
I love the details. I love the clarity. It really shows exactly what you do, and I love the way you really presented that. And
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. My pleasure. And before you started that, you were in a 9 to 5 job. So
Yes.
what prompted you to start this one, or what happened with your 9 to 5 job for you to venture into branding?
Thank you. That's a really great question. I freelanced for a really long time. I've been working in the graphic design branding world for about 10 years now. And my corporate job was running an after school music program for a big company. So I was the manager, and I was running all of the day to day, and taking care of the staff and the students and everything. I was basically like a corporate rock and roll principal. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. And everything that we associate with corporate life, like the demanding schedule, the kind of feeling like a number, being super underpaid and overworked, promotions dangled in front of you like a carrot on a stick. I mean, everything that we know and hate about corporate life is what was happening. And I say 9 to 5, but in reality it was like a 10 to 10. It was just so incredibly demanding. When you're working with kids, a lot of the time it's nights and weekends, unless you're working in a school. So I had no life, and I was just completely burning myself out and burning the candle at both ends, trying to chase after, whatever validation I was getting from this company, and, the money. And, I really cared about the people a lot. Like, that was my big thing, was making sure that my students were taken care of, because I really love those kids. But the problem with being in a corporate structure is that there's such little control that you have over, how things actually function when you're, a manager, and you're kind of like lower on the totem pole of like the overall, power structure of the company. So a lot of the time I was a no machine, and I had people coming to my office every day with something that they were going through, whether it was the kids coming to my office crying, needing support through something, and that was just, it was really fulfilling to help them, and really fulfilling to like be that person for them, but draining, admittedly. Or if it was my team, I had a staff of 18, 19 people, and people were coming to me every day saying, I can't afford this job. They don't pay us enough. And I don't know what to do, because I love what I do, but I physically cannot afford to work here, because they were also going beyond hours as much as I was, and had basically nothing to show for it. I mean, I had people working with me that had kids, and, such a bigger world than that place, and so much to take care of. And I felt really strongly that the place was not taking care of them, even though they were pouring their heart and soul into it. And it broke my heart. And I tried to give them more hours, because it was really the only thing I could do. And I ended up getting in trouble for it.
Mm.
It was just no at every single point. Here's this promotion you'll never get, so that you keep working hard. Here's a 5-cent raise. Enjoy. Like, it's just all these things that are just really validating and kind of, I guess, strengthening the parts of our society that are incredibly unhealthy. And I mean, I loved my job. I loved it. I loved being able to work with these people, and I loved the fact that it was music. And I was a performing touring musician beforehand, so I was like, this is great. I can be creative. I can get to work early and play drums for a while. Like, I can do things, that I really love, and I can be with people that I really love. But it was like, at what cost? And my mental health was like in the toilet. And I knew I was done, because every time I went on vacation, every time I was away from the school for more than a day, I was itching to go back. Every weekend I was like, it's almost Monday, let's go, I'm excited. when my partner and I were on vacation and I had a panic attack because I didn't want to go home because I didn't want to go to work, I realized this is not healthy and this is not sustainable. And I have to make a decision to ensure that I'm okay, because if I'm not okay, I can't help anyone, you know? I think that there's such an emphasis on kind of squishing that feeling of being really burnt out and trying to ignore it and like shove it into a closet and just keep going, keep pushing. And there's this like glorification of burnout and overworking yourself. And you know, I actively participated in it for a long time, thinking it was fine and kind of ignoring myself and even gaslighting myself. Like, no, you're fine. You're okay. Like,
Right.
yeah, you're crying every morning because you don't want to go to work, but you're fine. This is normal. This is just being an adult, you know? And when I had that moment and things at work continued to get harder anyway, there was this one day where I had tried to set up kind of like a charity within the school. We had this group of really prestigious young players that their whole thing was to give back to the community. That's like the purpose of the group, and to give them more opportunities to perform. And there's the area that the school was in has a very large amount of wealth inequality. There is one of the wealthiest towns in the state right next to one of the poorest towns in the state. And we had all the kids. So we had some kids who were coming in and, you know, I mean, just all new stuff all the time. Parents were donating equipment to the school because they loved it so much. Like, beautiful, beautiful thing. On the other hand, we have kids who are upset in my office because mom couldn't go to the grocery store. And do you have any snacks? You know, so the kids needed this place. It was their home. It was the place where they had support. It was keeping them, you know, doing their homework and not getting into trouble and taking care of each other and learning to be kind and like all of these, you know, very important things with emotional development of a kid. So I find it to be kind of, you know, not something that should be a privilege. So my thought was that we could utilize that band that, you know, the whole purpose of them was like they're a prestigious group that gives back to the community, and give back to the community, do a few benefit concerts, do things that allow us to accrue like a scholarship fund, and have people anonymously apply based on financial need, and, you know, get the opportunity to keep their kid in the school. Because, you know, I was doing what I could, but again, corporate no machine. You can't just let people, you know, no one was going for free. Like, it was very like, it's a company and you can't function giving things away for free, but like the money has to come from somewhere and the kids need this. And everyone was on board. Everyone was so excited, except this one parent who was convinced that there was a conspiracy going on and a bunch of kids were going for free. And like, I was trying to like manipulate the kids into covering my mistake. Like, you can't just do a good thing without it being put under a microscope. Because it was truly sincere. It was just like, you know, like honor societies in schools, how they have to do community service. That was what that band was like. So I was like, okay, here's your community service. Play some songs. Let's get some money, help these other kids. No, immediately just a coup started. Like, just people were angry. And that mom submitted a report to my bosses to try to get me fired for abuse of power. And right. So like, and she didn't realize that because I was the highest ranking person in the school, her report just came to my email. So I'm just hanging out at home, super burnt out, ready to quit, like completely giving all of myself to this place. And I get that email and I'm like, that's it, goodbye. I can't do this anymore. So I put in, I think I gave them like 2 months and they still didn't find a replacement. And they just kept utilizing people in the school without giving them any additional money to basically do my job. And long after I left, they still didn't have a replacement. Pretty sure that position is still unfilled. It's been 2 years. They had someone for a while. I don't know the full details because I mean, I have friends that are still there. But I mean, the bottom line is of this whole story that I'm probably rambling on about too much is that it was just a really big reminder that the way that things are is not sustainable for people. And I wanted to step away from that and do something for myself that made me happy. And the whole time I was designing and working with clients, I couldn't pay all my bills with my corporate job that took up all my time. So I still was designing, and it was my happy place. It was like doing an adult coloring book and finding that like creativity in that space for, just joy and being, mindful, and like, people do Sudoku, I'll design a logo. Like, I'll design a logo for a fake company just to relax. Like, I love it. So I figured when I left, like, that's what I have to do. And I freelanced for a few months and then started working with a coach who taught me, about like how to formalize it more as a business. I knew a lot from my corporate job about what to do once a business is already established, but there was kind of like this gap, right? With like, okay, but how do you get there? How do you get started? So I worked with her. Her name is Amy. She's amazing. Her company is Online Biz Academy. And within a month, I had an employee. Within 6 months, I had an office. It was just continuing to kind of snowball into this thing that allowed me to create something that disrupts all the things that I didn't like about my old job, and like that actually cares about people, and that actually like treats you like a human instead of a number. So long story short, after getting a really bad 9-to-5 taste in my mouth, I wanted to basically create the opposite. And here we are.
Oh, that. Beautiful, beautiful. And congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
so much.
resilient. Yeah, love that. And so after you created your business and you hired people, and because you have that heart to care about others, you had more employees, and you had to be able to keep up with payroll and all that. The time when you
It was rough.
almost lost your business, and you were still able to navigate and be able to stand on your feet, a few months after that. So elaborate a little bit about your journey during that time and how you got back to where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that once I started hiring people, I realized that this was bigger than myself, right? I realized that I started this to pursue what I love and be creative and give myself something better than what I had. And it could potentially be a vehicle for me to do that for other people. And the thought of being able to be the yes person instead of the no person for the first time was like the greatest thing ever. So I got a little hiring happy. I hired way too many people. I was like making up jobs. Like the second I had enough money to start putting people on payroll, I was like, you get a job, you get a job. Like it was in hindsight, definitely irresponsible. But I think I was so caught up in the momentum and so excited and kind of naive. And I just wanted to give people what I found. I was so happy that there was something else out there that wasn't like, you do your job, you make $2, we don't care about you, bye. Like once I had found that feeling, I was like, I can almost like, it's gonna sound crazy, but I can almost like karmically right the wrongs of being a corporate manager for years by like providing something better. And like I hired people that I knew, that I cared about, that I knew deserved an opportunity, that I really believed in. And I just wanted to build it. Once I realized it could be something bigger, I wanted to build it into something that could kind of interrupt that corporate thing we have going on in our culture. So I threw everything into trying to grow and trying to support this team that was way bigger than my business could handle. There were moments where it was really warranted and we had a lot of work, and there were moments where we didn't, and it was like, how do we get through this month? What are we going to do? I think a really important thing to know when you're starting a small business is that there are going to be ebbs and flows. You're going to have amazing months and you're going to have absolute garbage months where there are just tumbleweeds passing through. And the best thing you can do is be prepared for that. Mm-hmm. And the more you can book in advance and you can kind of create like almost like a waiting list structure, the more you can kind of create stability within your business. But the reality is, small business entrepreneurship, it is never stable. You know, it's basically the facade of stability, but like, you can't tell what's going to happen in a month. It's about how you're responding to the data, right? How many of your sales calls are converting, for example, right? Like, if you have a pulse on the numbers, you can understand that's like your business telling you how it's feeling. It's like when you're having a cold or something, you notice the different symptoms so that you can diagnose and prescribe medicine and feel better and take care of it. And when it comes to a business, it's about keeping a pulse on the numbers so that you can accurately diagnose any problems, any stop gaps, anywhere that you're just not going the direction that you could be, that you want to be, and then, you know, prescribe the medicine and fix it. And I was so thrown into just the excitement and the momentum and the people and taking care of the people that I started to make up excuses for the numbers on the times when things weren't great. I was like, oh, well, we're in COVID, you know, so that's why. So I'm just going to borrow more money for myself for the business and we'll be fine. Oh, we're in COVID, you know, it's just another rough month, so I'll take out a loan. Oh, we're in COVID, I'll put it on the credit card, you know, and thing after thing. And before I know it, I am in debt. And I realized that I had a team not because my business needed it, it was killing my business. I had a team because I wanted to take care of people. And I realized that just financially, it wasn't feasible. And I had put myself in hiring these people. I had put myself in a position where I was just back to being a corporate manager, no person, because I was restricted now instead of by the powers that be above me by the physical limitations of my bank account. And I was back to, you know, overseeing and not being actively involved in the creativity and being more passively involved in just making sure things got done. I had put myself into the position that I hated in order to take care of other people. And I convinced myself that it was okay. I put myself in tens of thousands of dollars of debt, and I put myself right back where I was before I left. And I was miserable. And I sat down my good friend, that was the first person that I hired. And we realized that the business was doing a lot better when it was just two people, because it's not meant to be that size. You know, it's not meant to be this big thing. It's meant to be this little tiny baby hub of creativity where we can work with people and help them. And if I continued trying to force it to be something it wasn't, not only was I going to be miserable forever doing something that I don't like, when the whole point of the business was so I could be creative, but the business wasn't going to exist, and we wouldn't be able to help the people. And the people working with me were going to lose their jobs eventually anyway, because I could only look for money in so many places, you know? So I had some really hard conversations. It was a really hard time. I felt incredibly guilty and disgusting and terrible, because it felt like, you know, I'm taking their livelihood away. But I was able, by some miracle, to make sure that every single person that the company couldn't support had another opportunity ready for them to start as soon as they left. That was a tricky one, but it worked out. And it was, you know, I needed to know they were okay. I needed to know that my actions and my lack of foresight and my naivety hadn't put them in a bad position. You know, if we could all walk away knowing where the next paycheck was going to come from and feeling like we learned from the experience and we had a great time, that's what needed to happen. So that's exactly how it went. It was tough, a lot of tears from multiple parties. You know, ending something like that is hard, but I realized that it wasn't selfish to make a change that felt wrong for others, but right for me, because without that change, it was just going to blow up. It absolutely needed to happen. So we transitioned back to a team of two, and we, you know, have been gradually like restructuring the company so that way it we can be really true to the holistic process instead of like, oh yeah, you need a hat design, sure, like instead of almost like a diner for design, where this menu is huge and like, we'll just kind of give anyone anything. We really want to have a mission, and we really want to have a tried and true process that gives people the results that they need. So we kind of went back to the drawing board. We set up the 8-week process, and it changed everything. The business is doing well. I'm so happy and so fulfilled and so in love with what I do. And I get to do it with my best friend. And, it was all a really important lesson. And now when I work with my clients, it's a lesson that I can use to help them not make the same mistakes I did. I think that when you're working with someone and you're doing any kind of like business coaching or even life coaching or consulting or anything, it's so important to incorporate the ways that you're a fallible human being and have made mistakes and embrace them instead of trying to hide them and come off perfect, because we're all people, and we're all probably going to make the same mistakes at some point. And if anything positive can come of it, if it can be an empowering learning tool for someone, then that's the best thing you could hope for in a situation like that. And that's how we got here.
That is really beautiful. Just looking at you navigate through that process and actually taking responsibility. And I really commend you for finding something for them, for those people that were working for you, after they leave you. Who does that? You know what I mean? You can count that on you can count. I'm saying,
yeah, it's not normal.
Yeah. So I really commend you. When I was like, wow, this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
That's what we say.
Much.
Yeah. Caring comes from when you are in service, you're there to serve others, and being in that space, that's just exactly what you did, being in alignment with who you are and providing, people with that and being truthful to yourself. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Rochelle. Thank you. So I know you do like maybe you're when to be an entrepreneur, most of the time we are overwhelmed. We have a lot happening in our lives, and you just talked about a lot of those. And yeah, so when you get to that space where you have to really to stay focused, not being swayed away by a lot, and staying in line with your goals and dreams, what do you do? Because there's always a challenge. There are changes that occur, So how do you navigate through that?
One really important thing that I've learned is when you're time blocking your day, when you're looking at your tasks and figuring out like, how long is this going to take, whatever, leave yourself an hour for surprises. Like that's such an important thing that I've realized is like, in my task management systems, I've implemented like there's an hour for just emails and like whatever the heck is in those emails, because 9 times out of 10, you are going to end the day with things that you did not know you needed to do that morning. So that's one thing, like always be ready for a surprise. Time blocking for me is really helpful. I use an app. It's actually called Sorted, and it's pretty inexpensive on the App Store. It's awesome. And it allows you to integrate your calendar and also time out your tasks and then organize them based on how your day is and when you want to start and when you want to be done. And the thing I love about the app, because I really like planning. Like I was always like that person who like made a journal and like bullet journal and, make it pretty. And like I spreadsheet for fun. Like it's a little ridiculous. I realized that the way that we plan is very rigid. Right. We write in ink in a planner what we're going to get done that day. And it's very unforgiving. And if we don't get the thing done, it stares at us and shames us and says, you didn't do a good enough job. And what I like about this app is that it's really easy to move things to tomorrow. And it's really important to remember that we are human and we have limitations and we need to respect those. And if there's something that isn't an emergency and you're at the end of your bandwidth for the day, you need to forgive yourself and let it be a tomorrow problem, as long as the client's okay with it, as long as like there's no greater repercussion, there is so much internalized pressure that we put on ourselves. There are so many deadlines that don't actually have to exist that we impart on ourselves for honestly no good reason. Do things have to get done? Absolutely. Do they have to get done this second, or we're going to die and be a failure and be on the streets in a minute? No. Like, but there's that feeling, there's that anxiety, right? So I think being cognizant of that and really keeping it in perspective is important, and having some kind of task management system that allows you the flexibility of, it's okay, tomorrow exists. It's okay, you can be reasonable with yourself, and there's no shame in it. I think it just helps to reinforce that mindset, which is something that's kind of counterintuitive in our culture. So, to have systems in place that remind you like, hey, it's okay. You can call it a day. Like, you're all right. I think also being really self-aware and honest with yourself when you're getting to that point of overwhelm is really important. We try to bury it. We try to ignore it. We try to, tell ourselves that we're fine, but you cannot help others. You cannot fill others' cup if your cup is empty, right? There's nothing to give. And, my big hope one day is to, be able to raise my family while running this business. And what I'm learning now is that in order to do that, it's vitally important to make sure that, all of the different things are being accounted for, not just like the work tasks, but also the human tasks. And that at the core of it, you're okay. It's really about being like self-sustaining and self-supportive, really, and kind to yourself. So having the mindfulness to say, you know what, my brain hurts, I need a brain break, step away from the screen, go take a walk, go take a minute, or watch stupid videos on TikTok so that your brain can melt a little bit, and then you can come back and approach the thing, have a snack, whatever it is that helps you just kind of like get your battery recharged a little bit, to be able to have the mindfulness to know it's time, we're empty, and that's okay. And we need to take a minute, because it's better to take 5 minutes to recharge your battery than to take an hour to try to do something with no battery. It's not going to be productive. Yeah. So I think the big answer is just mindfulness and flexibility, and being reasonable, realistic, and kind with yourself.
I love that. You talk about the spreadsheet where you do your brain dump. I really love that term, because for me, it's like it made me think of free writing, where some people, you feel like you just get a paper and you're just writing everything without editing, and just, just releasing. It's like a release, to everything that it's feeling like, okay, you're overwhelmed, and have to just clear your brain, and just, without judgment, and without being in that space of being guilt or whatever, and just letting it. So,
well, it's about having systems in place for the way that you are as a person, right? Like, I know if I go to the store and I get a bunch of stuff and I don't need to use it all right now, some of that's just going to sit somewhere. There's going to be a pile of things I don't have time for right now somewhere. So I'm going to make a box that's dedicated to the things that I don't have. It's an I don't have time right now box. And it's neat, it's compact, it's put away, when I have time for it, I go back to it. But that mess is going to exist anyway. We might as well have a place for it to go. That mess in our brain is going to exist anyway. It needs a place to live. Whether you're a person that does well, just like stream of conscious free writing in a journal, or just like, organizing your thoughts by venting to a friend, like whatever it may be that allows you to make sense of the things going on in your brain, that mess is going to exist anyway. You need to know yourself and know where it needs to go. And for me, spreadsheets are the jam. Like, I have that whole spreadsheet that's brain dump. And some pages are these like profound financial plans and projections for the future, and like things I want to do. Some are like home organization projects. Some are like, these are my thoughts about this movie that I didn't like, and I just need to talk about it. Like it's really about just having a space where you can just vomit words without looking at it and saying like, what's wrong with me? Because it's just part of being a person.
Right. Without judgment. Love that. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Ooh, that's a good one. She had a lot going on. Her parents were about to get divorced. She was about to start that job that completely drained her of everything. And she did not know her worth. I think that I would tell her that it is not selfish to take care of yourself, and that it's important to value yourself, because if you don't, nobody else will. And that listening to yourself and telling the truth unapologetically with yourself is going to save you. So it's okay to learn how to do that. It's not selfish, it's not wrong, and you're going to be fine.
I love that. That was emotional.
Yeah, a little, she wasn't so sure, but I could tell her, there was, mental health is a tough thing to work with. And there was a time when I was a teenager that I could not see myself being older than 25. I couldn't see myself getting past it. I didn't know if I'd still be here. I didn't know what would happen. On my 25th birthday, I remember having this moment of just like, you're here and you're not going anywhere and you're fine and you want to be here. And, you have the power to make sure it stays that way. And to be kind of brutally honest with what is and isn't working, and to get rid of the things that aren't, instead of like have them shackling you, like it's possible to be some form of happy on this planet, and we all deserve to claim that.
Sure. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so social media is a thing that I am on, but I would say the best way is on our website, which is cobrandingstudio.com. That's there's a lot of info about what we do, case studies, testimonials, picture of my dog, all the fun business things.
Okay, amazing. And thank you so much, Rochelle. It's been a wonderful time with you today. And
thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to clarify this, that here on the description box of this episode, I'm going to have Rochelle's information, like the website that she just gave. So if you want to contact her, for service or to know more, for any questions or whatever that might be, make sure you do so. So I've had a wonderful time. I've enjoyed your story, your journey. It's very inspiring, very touching, and with so many messages. Being authentic, taking responsibility, and still like being in service, and caring for others, and also caring for self, and making a difference in the world and empowering others. So taking initiatives. You have a lot, in that package, in everything that you've been doing, whether it's where you're in the corporate world or whatever you're doing today. So that's really amazing. Thank you so much for being an inspiration. Thank you for sharing from your heart. It's been a great time. We've come to the end. Thanks everybody for listening. Take care. Bye for now. Thanks again, Rochelle.
Thank you, Mary.